This is the Sluggo, slant and go.
It's called Sluggo.
Fellas, episode 111 of Sluggo. Casey the Beef Cregan has pulled off the side of the road to join us somewhere in the nether regions of South Carolina. Where you at, Beef?
Walterboro. I'm at a Motel 6, so they leave the light on for me.
Oh, and I think Locks is still in Pooler, Georgia.
Yep,
and
still here.
I'm not sure who's getting the best of that deal, or Kyle, Texas. Clemson United 1, Wake nothing. Nelson chimes in. Very good news. Good news. I need to find a different setup for us. So let me get something going here so we can talk and I can change the setup. Casey, you are unsuspended. Your mom didn't have to go to the hospital when she found out you were suspended, like the old days at SHP, did she?
No, that was really pretty funny, though. As soon as you guys started last week and I'm driving back from Charleston to Hilton Head and my phone blasts off, I'm trying to talk to you guys. It wasn't working so well. And then here comes a text that says, Mama Cregan. And she said, suspended. What did you do? Yeah.
Kind of funny. Yeah,
still got my name tag on for you guys too. That's great.
Oh, nice.
No, I thought the bit was fantastic, and it could have held on tonight if I didn't pull over on the side of the road here.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you did to join us, or not join us and keep driving, whichever one works out for you. Sylvester's in the house. Glad you're back. Now you can keep these guys in check. Good luck with that.
Something like that.
Us two schmoes, Marty.
Yes. And it worked out perfectly, Casey, because last week the joke was you were suspended because you were under 30% in your picks. Well, guess what? That 1 and 2 put you right at 30%. As we'll see later, it reminded me to put the graphic up. I spent weeks, hours, months on the graphic and didn't even put it up last week. So, hey, as we were talking before the show, fellas, I had an up and down Saturday. Of course, Clemson played, I think, the ugliest. I was trying to remember. That's the ugliest game? Remember the 24-6 Alabama playoff game? But that was a playoff team. That was Alabama in their prime. This was Notre Dame that's lost to Marshall and who else? Stanford. That was an ugly football game. Beef.
I got one.
Okay. Go ahead.
A 2008 Alabama game where Clemson was ranked in the top 12. Alabama was not Alabama yet. They had just lost the year before. I think it was Saban's second season. You didn't think anything of it down in Atlanta and the Georgia Dome to start the season, and it wasn't even competitive. In fact, I just turned to the bar. I was with my friends, and I just went to the bar and just sat at the bar, and I didn't even watch the game. But it was 2008 or 2009, and it was one of the early Dabo. Actually, it may have still been. It may have still been Bowden.
It was.
Fact.
Yeah, that's the game where Alabama became Alabama because after they beat Clemson, they crushed everybody that year and won the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was
when
that was
his
awful.
Name? Jamie
Harper.
Harper got the first carry of his career and fumbled it, and game was over.
Yes.
He was promised, right? He was promised. He was a 4 or 5 star out of Florida that was promised the first carry. Yeah. And I think we still had C.J. Spiller at that time as well.
He did, yeah.
Yeah. See, it's all coming back. I wasn't that blackout.
Well, Sylvester says that was an awful game, but no one thought the team was going to win a playoff game because there was no playoff. Oh, you mean 17? I guess he's talking about. Yeah. With Kelly Bryant at the helm. That was some bad one. Zach, besides the Orange Bowl of 2000 and what was that, 11 or so? I mean, at least that team scored, right?
Right.
That was competitive until it wasn't.
It just ran away. Yeah. I was thinking that was back and forth, brutal. But this was terrible. I mean, to see the Lions get dominated the way they did, just the offensive line, our defensive line was just giving up gaping holes to the running backs. It was gross. Then they stole our old play. They ran a wheel route. It was tough. I told you guys. I mean, after the last pick six, I shut off. I couldn't take it anymore.
It was
And
pretty depressing.
Marty, I think that was the most frustrating part for me anyway, was that they weren't doing anything special. So we have all these Notre Dame folks, and we're friends with a couple that are talking all big and bad about how great they were. And I mean, yes, we're Clemson folks, so we're going to see it kind of with orange-colored glasses, but they didn't do anything special that beat Clemson. They literally just lined up and ran the ball. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, it started feeling something different when those two holding calls on the first drive against Bo Collins, which the first one absolutely was a hold. The second one was absolutely not a hold. And then they blocked the kick. At that point, it just felt different. And then obviously throwing 5 of the first 7 passes behind the line of scrimmage, it was a different feeling in that game, to the point where I was kind of indifferent by the end of it. And I haven't felt that way about a Clemson game in a long time. People are like, "Oh, you must be hurting." My dad called me, "You're doing okay?" I'm like, "Yeah," because it was such a shellacking.
Yeah,
it wasn't even competitive. And
of course, my joke was the hardest Walker Parks has ever hit anybody was that guy on the way to the locker room. Kevron wants to know why you don't have any ambient interior lighting in your ride.
Yeah, I know.
I don't even know what that means.
Company car.
I don't even know what that means.
I should have some blue lights going on the side, flashing.
Like a disco, right?
Yeah.
And Sylvester brings up the West Virginia game, of course.
That's exactly right.
Less than 2 yards a carry, 6 yards a carry. They were, and that's the thing. There wasn't, maybe 1 or 2, but there wasn't a lot of long runs, 30-yard variety. That 263 was like 8 painful yards at a time, and Beef decided he didn't like us anymore.
I'm here.
Set the light off.
The cops are coming.
I'm at a Motel 6, so you never know where I'm going to be around.
That is true. One time I was doing a podcast with Brandon Rake, who's now with TigerNet. I think at the time he was with Orange and White. And I was in a parking lot of a mall, and a cop came over there, thought I was dealing. It was hilarious.
Yes, you were.
Yeah, I was dealing nonsense. Let's see. Kevron, I always have faith in DJ. It's going to be a tough one this week, Kevron. It worked out well for 7 weeks, but he's back into just struggling. And he has an uncanny knack when he throws an interception or fumble. It isn't a turnover. It's 6, right? Yeah. It just seems like it's always, something happens. And it turns out to be 6. Sylvester says it honestly should have been a shutout. Nelson, it was obvious the coach didn't have confidence in DJ in the first half. Yeah, I think they lost that confidence in Nelson in Syracuse game. I know I did. 8-15 piece it felt like. Yeah, every rush. No longer leaving the light on for you. All right. Lots of Motel 6 jokes. College football playoff rankings real quick. Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and TCU. Tell me which one of those doesn't fit Zach Locke's Parker.
I said last week, these things typically shake themselves out. I just wasn't expecting it to be Clemson being knocked out so quickly. But Georgia showed up. Tennessee fell apart. Alabama lost again. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's fine. I think TCU is going to, if they run the table, more power to you. I don't know if they will, though. It's got a tough one this week versus Texas. So it's not bad. I'll tell you what, too. Michigan, I think, looks like a better team than Ohio State right now. So more physical. Ohio State didn't look great this past weekend. A lot of finesse on that team, and Michigan's just a bunch of bruisers. So we'll see. I think that could be a great game over Thanksgiving weekend.
I don't know if you guys realize this, but I've been honored to ask to participate in the Clemson media poll, and this week I put Michigan at number 2.
Yeah.
I felt bad about it, but It was really in reaction to Ohio State
Right.
performance, right? Who else are you going to put there?
Yeah.
And Ohio State had 76 yards passing last week against who did they play? Northwestern. 76
Terrible
yards.
weather. Understood.
That wind was
was bad.
ridiculous.
He had
But-
the wind going with him 2 quarters.
It's not the first time they've pulled this, though. Either.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Both teams are playing with the wind. This was not Notre Dame Clemson of 2015, fellas. All right, Beef. What you got to say about the college football rankings?
Yeah, it's fine. I Nelson pointed this out to me yesterday, and I then tweeted it and took it as my own. But for the first time ever, college football playoff ESPN decided to have a top 7 instead of a top 6.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think it's because top 7 was LSU,
Yep.
an SEC team, a certain conference. It's fine. And like Locke said, I think it really is going to shake itself out. Ohio State and Michigan have to play each other. It kind of sets up nicely for Tennessee. Really, they're right there at 5 again. So if they they're not going to be in the SEC championship unless Georgia falters. So somehow or another, again, a thing I just can't wrap my mind around, a team that can't win their conference but can play for the national championship is just baffling to me in a 4-team playoff. But it's set up again to have at least 2, if not 3, SEC teams in the final. And the third is LSU with 2 losses.
That's a tough road to hoe.
And just wait till 2024 when there's like 6 SEC teams in the 12-team playoff, which I have a piece coming out tomorrow, rubbingtherock.com. Thanks for setup, Beef, about how I was starting to believe in the expanded playoff, and I'm not sure why. I think I'm resigned to the fact that it's going to happen, right? So why fight it? But this weekend showed me why 4 is better.
Yeah,
because Clemson and Notre Dame game would have meant nothing with the 12-team playoff, right? Not nothing, but less, right? It wasn't do or die. And that's the fun of college football for me, right? Even when my team loses, it's the not knowing and having to win every Saturday. Not only Clemson, Notre Dame, but you can say the same thing about Alabama and LSU. Exciting game, great finish, yeah. But if there's 12 teams, Alabama's still in the playoff, and it really doesn't mean anything.
Yep.
Or less. I know it means something. It means something, but it doesn't mean Alabama's out of the playoff like they are now. So it's going to affect regular season games. I don't care what anybody says. Maybe not a lot, but there's going to be some. And there's 2 examples this weekend because Clemson and Alabama would both be in. Alabama with 2 losses and having to travel to Mississippi. Locks, you're a SEC honk. What about that?
I used to be of the belief of they're going to come out and whip them, but this is not the same Alabama team. After a loss, you'd expect Saban, to come out with a massive game plan, run up the score, get style points. I don't know anymore. Lane Kiffin still got that chip on his shoulder. That wants to beat his old coach. So it could be a tighter game. I think Alabama wins, but it could be within the numbers. So. I think it could be a good one to watch, though.
Beef?
Alabama big. Almost yeah, I do.
I just don't think.
I don't think they got big.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Jahmyr Gibbs is playing, I know that the receivers aren't the names that they've been in the past.
No.
I know the defense isn't as suffocating as it's been in the past. They've obviously given up numbers and they've given up big plays. They've given up a ton of chunk plays. They've given up a ton of explosive plays. Heck, the touchdown that Jaden Daniels scored the other day was Jaden Daniels was unreal. I think it was to either tie. I don't know. I'd had some pops that night, but it was 35 yards. It was awesome. There was no defense. It was tremendous. So I thoroughly enjoy when Alabama loses. I'll just.
I think we all do.
The nation does.
True road game too this weekend. We know how they have performed in those in the past.
Right.
Clemson only a 7-point favorite over Louisville. Now the slate this week's a little tough. We say that every week and it ends up being wild and crazy, but Clemson's a 7-point favorite over Louisville. North Carolina plays at Wake. I think Beef has a pick on that game. Georgia's at Mississippi State, a letdown. I think they could play their third stringers and still win. And the big one, TCU at Texas, where TCU is ranked 5th in the playoff and a 7-point underdog. They're on the road at Texas. So really, anything on those games, Locks?
Clemson, Louisville. I mean, I would take Clemson as a 17-point victor in this typically, but now I don't know what the hell's going on. I mean, I really don't. I think at home it's going to be a massive difference. A big build 'em up week, it should be fine. I wonder who the quarterback's going to be. If we're going to split halves, try and get Klubnik some more snaps. I don't know. I'd be interested to see the game plan. It'll be a fun one to watch. I think Clemson should smash them though, but I'm not picking that game.
I'm almost of the mind that it's time to move on at quarterback, just because DJ's not going to be here next year, right? Dabo's already dropped the hint that he's graduating in December. I heard Larry Williams' podcast last week. He's always planned to be a 3-year guy, blah, 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 blah. So I don't think DJ's here one way or the other next year, and that's going to leave Clemson without an experienced quarterback if Klubnik doesn't play at least more. Beef, you got an opinion on that?
Yeah, I think that it's time. I've been a DJ supporter since he's been on campus. I truly believe and have believed. Heck, he made me right for the first 7 weeks of the season. He was a fringe Heisman Trophy. I didn't say he was a finalist, but Heisman Trophy kind of guy. He had some great. He was great the first 7 weeks. He truly was. Not Trevor Lawrence great, not Deshaun Watson great, but he was great. And it was a no-brainer at that point. I was looking at all the detractors saying, "Yeah, what do you say now?" But I think the last couple weeks and a bye week thrown in there as well, you're just not sure what you're going to get again, and it's a here we go again. And I hope, and I heard someone say this the other day, I just hope they put Cade in. If they're going to bring him in, have a plan. And it really didn't feel like they had a plan. They brought him in, and he was on the 7-yard line. And then they roll him out to the left side, going against his body. I mean, it was doomed to fail. And I love the kid's moxie. I love the way that he's trying to make a play. I love that. I mean, at this point, he can make a mistake, right? If all we want is playoffs, and that's probably out of the equation right now, let the kid play. Let him make a mistake or two, or split halves, or give him a series that they're going to set him up to succeed like they did in Georgia Tech.
Good, excellent points, Beef. And if DJ can make you right, that's something we haven't been able to do on this show. In 111 episodes. He did look good for first. He did look good for the first 7 games, and I was touting him a lot. But once he lost, I don't know if he lost confidence at Syracuse or what, but it really just hasn't been the same. All right, guys, let's get to it. I don't think you could have done any worse if you tried.
Well, I take that as a victory.
These guys aren't doing research, so why should I? Beef, you stink the most.
A true believer in what they're doing in North Carolina. That's why I'm picking Virginia Tech, Tennessee.
I love Spencer Rattler.
I agree with Marty. I don't like this.
Look, you smell it, the backdoor cover.
Nobody agrees with Marty because he's terrible at picking this year. But R.W. Smith, or Smitty, right? Need to DJ early and often. He seems to respond when he's hit, but DJ is on the shortest leash ever. And yeah, I agree with that. I think Shipley's going to get a lot of carries this week, and I think DJ's going to get a lot of carries. And I'm leaning toward the under because I think they're going to run the ball because they're scared to throw it, as we saw last week. Okay, I am in last place in this colossal cluster that we call making picks this year. And when I put up the graphic at the end here, we'll see how bad this trio has been at making picks. I almost
for yourself.
This, what did I name this? Something about putrid picks. That was going to be the name of this episode.
Done deal.
Putrid picks, but I found another name at the end. Here's how my year's going, fellas. I boldly picked Coastal Carolina. Nelson tells me their quarterback's out for 3 to 6 weeks, which I'm not sure, but I think it includes this week. I don't think he's starting out next week.
The 1 week I don't pick him. I didn't pick him for once. So
Locks tells me that that the backup quarterback is good, but I'm a man of my word, and I'm going to stick with Coastal minus 8.5. Be sure to jot this number down, Locks. I'm betting $1.82.
Come on, man.
This from a guy who bet pennies last year, literally.
Well, that was a different year.
$1.82. I only got 631.82. I'm using the beef strategy. Get to round numbers. You have a better chance of getting them right.
Yeah.
I'm taking Coastal minus 8.5 for $1.82.
Right.
Beef.
I'm realizing while I was looking at my picks, I'm going all road dogs, and 2 of the 3 at least, probably all 3, are absolute sucker bets.
I wasn't going to say anything.
But they are all sucker bets.
Like,
but I'm going to bet, and I'm going to bet large for as much money as I have left. So, excuse me. First one, LSU at Arkansas. I think LSU is the hottest team in college football right now. They played really well and hard against Alabama. I just don't trust Arkansas. I know they've had injuries at their quarterback position. They're good. I get it, but they're not what they were last year. I'm going LSU. I don't know what the spread is because I didn't write that down. 492-32 because I got to clear that mess out when I lose this one.
Yeah, the spread's not important, Beef.
Yeah, I don't. Straight up, I would still be 10 and 140.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Nelson. I usually don't check the Coastal Carolina rumors. As Nelson called and I'm sure you guys have heard this before, but Nelson texted me the other day about the beach chickens, Coastal Carolina, right? Gamecock, the Chanticleers are at the beach. That was beautiful, Nelson. I like that. I like that. Locks, your first pick of the day.
My picks are all underwhelming. I had no idea what to do this week, so we'll start with the most underwhelming, which is going to be Southern California, with the biggest line that I think I've ever picked, favored by 34 points, versus a lowly Colorado team, and I have Southern Cal covering. Why? Your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea. They're good, and Colorado's miserable. So give me 35 points, please, Southern Cal. $500. I got nothing.
You got nothing, but you got a giant lead, so that really probably won't hurt you.
That helps.
At all, that helps. Yes, I have known nothing about that. Okay, my next pick. This one also went against me, fellas, because the reason I picked this thinking that USF had given up. And you know, the dead cat bounce is a thing in football, right? They fired Jeff Scott, so they're going to come out of the tunnel and probably be fired up. But I'm taking SMU minus 17.5. They're playing in Tampa. You know, who cares? I don't think it matters. But I am a little worried that that USF is going to be fired up, the new coach, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, Jeff Scott, we didn't talk about that, got fired last weekend or Monday or Sunday or whatever day it was. I texted you guys. But I'm taking SMU minus 17.5. And once again, because I picked the game and then something happened after that, or I found out additional information, I'm going a little light here, but I'm going to go $110 on SMU.
Did you see how many points that SMU put up last week?
That's why I picked them.
77.
And I've seen the USF defense for about 3 years now. So
yeah, I figured you had inside info.
$110 is 16% of my bankroll. So I'm not going cheap there. You can't call me cheap on that one.
I hear you.
Beef, pick 2.
Second sucker bet of the week is North Carolina. I'm picking North Carolina at Wake Forest. North Carolina struggled mightily with UVA last week before pulling it out. Wake Forest has had 11 turnovers in the last 2 weeks, most of which were come by the hands of Sam Hartman. So I am going with North Carolina because there's no question Wake's going to bounce back and win.
It's got-
North Carolina, 250 Sluggo bucks.
There has been fewer things sure in college football than going against the beef, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Going against all of us in general the last month or so, but the beef in particular, who in week 11 we're in needs a victory to get to double digits.
What? Wait, say it again for effect.
I only have 9 wins.
Yes, we were in.
Stop it. Are you serious?
We were in week
9 and
11.
21.
Yes, sir. You'll see it in a few minutes.
Oh my god!
And beef, top this. You had a 3-0 week. So the other,
All right.
the other 8 weeks you were
Mute
6
yourself, Marty.
How could you go 6-21? Well, I came close, but
Holy cow!
he's had a.
Whew.
People don't come here for my picks, Marty.
They do, and they go opposite. Locks pick your second pick.
Oppo pick. Again, searching for something. Again, I had a weird thing I saw, I think, on Instagram. If a team is around like 9 or 10 point favorites, always take the under for the game because the other team is going to try and cover. I don't know. I just made the shit up. I'm taking Maryland, Penn State under 59.5. I got nothing. Who roots for an under? Anybody? I mean, I know you start the game and you're already winning, but it's tough to watch. $500 and I won't be watching.
It's so tough. I won't.
I got nothing. I can't get behind any of these games this week, y'all. I don't. It's just
We have all three. I'm not sure if Casey ever had any, and I was questionable, but we've all three lost confidence. I can't pick a game to save my life. Right?
I haven't gotten more than one right in a week in like a month and a half. It feels like. Thank God I got somebody right early.
Thank God we're so bad. That's what he's really saying, Beef.
Yeah,
Thank
God.
God.
I heard it.
There's like a backhanded compliment that wasn't a compliment.
Thank God you guys are so terrible that I can be bad and still win. All right, my third and final pick. Okay, speaking of not having any clue here, and
Right.
I had to find a money line to go to. So the one I saw was TCU, number 5 or number 4 in the playoff, number 1 in my heart. They're playing at Texas this week. 7-point underdog as a playoff, in the college football playoff. I can't even speak either. But it's 7 points, but the money line comes in at plus 222.
That's
So
good value. Yeah.
I'm gonna take a shot, and when I say take a shot, I'm taking a shot here. I'm gonna put 300 Sluggo bucks on that at plus 222. It's a gamble, but I mean, what am I gonna do, right? I'm 9,000 points behind with 2 weeks to go. So TCU 300 Sluggo bucks plus 222. That still is only like 660 Sluggo bucks or something. It's not going to be big, but it'll keep me out. And I'm already figured out the math. If I lose all 3 of these picks, which could certainly happen, I'm going to measure it out over the next 2 weeks we have left after this, where I go completely broke at the end of the season.
Perfect.
Just for good measure. And yes, Sylvester, TCU is a 7-point underdog. They're playing at Texas this week. Now I'm going to be betting on the daily fantasy. I'll be betting on all the Texas players, but I'll be rooting for TCU to win the game. Texas has got some dogs on that offense. Bijan Robinson, et cetera. Some receivers that can really play too. So I'm hoping TCU's luck. A lot of luck this year, and I hope they have one more game of it, and then I hope they lose all the rest of their games. But TCU money line, Beef, your last game.
My third and final sucker bet is the hottest team in college football. I think I've said that already with my 3 picks. Florida State. The Florida State Seminoles absolutely laid the wood to Miami last week. They travel up to Syracuse to play in those elements. Oh, wait, it's a dome. There's no elements. And Syracuse has absolutely pooped the proverbial bed the last 2 weeks. and they looked like a shell of themselves last week. I just think Florida State has some dogs, to use Marty's word, on defense, and I think Jordan Travis is fantastic. So I'm going Florida State, whatever the spread is, 250 Sluggo bucks. That gets me down to about 1,000 Sluggo bucks to bet next week. I don't know how 500 divided by 3 is, but that's what I'm going with next week.
6.5 is the spread you got, Beef, and the research you have done. The research you have done on these games before you picked them is impeccable. You don't know the spreads or where they're playing,
No
if it's
idea.
inside or outside. That's the Beef we know and love. Locks, close this mess out with your third and final pick.
I picked the TCU game as well, but I have TCU plus the 7 points. On a hope and a whim and a prayer, I could see Texas winning by 28 also with their offense, but I'm expecting their defense not to show up like a Big 12 team is used to doing. So I kind of expect a high-scoring affair. Maybe TCU keeps inside the line. I don't know. It should be a fun one to watch. So I'm looking forward to this one this weekend. So $500 on that one too. We're doing the Beef strategy of 500 across the board when we're lost and confused.
We have no
Keep
clue.
it simple.
Yes, the KISS method. All right, here we go. In summary, and I'll put up the sad standings here. Let me get
You don't have to.
All right, Marty, Coastal minus 8.5 for $1.82. SMU minus 17.5 for 110. TCU money line plus 222 for 600. That will definitely get me back in this game. Beef, North Carolina plus 3 for 250. FSU minus 6.5 for 250 or 500.
250.
250.
Okay. And LSU minus 3 for 492.32 using his own strategy, which I have stolen. Zach Locks Parker. TCU plus 7 for 500. Maryland, Penn State under 59.5 in a game nobody's going to watch for 500. And the craziest bet of his Sluggo career, Southern Cal minus 34 for 500 Sluggo bucks. As you can see on your screen, we are terrible. Locks, he started off like a house of fire. I think he was like 10-2 at one point.
Yep.
Is now 16-14. He's actually underwater too now. We started out with 10,000 Sluggo bucks, everyone. 89, 78, 37. Beef, he's never been on fire except for that 1 week. Believe it or not, in a 9-21 record, he had a 3-0 week, which means in the other 10 weeks, or 9 weeks, because this is week 11, 9 weeks, he's won a total of 6 games. How do you do that?
That's an average of 0.66 wins a week.
would be good if we were just picking one game a week. That'd be on fire. He has 1,992 and 32. I was the only brave one. Went out on a limb the first 2 weeks, and the limb broke off both weeks.
Real bad.
11, 17, and 2, but nobody else has any pushes. I'm the only pusher. Well, sorry, FBI. I hope the FBI is not listening. I've got amazingly $631.82 Sluggo bucks to play with. Now you see why I bet $1.82 on someone. So let's add this up real quick. 25, 35, 36, 52, and 2. Fellas, we're not very good at this.
No.
36, 52, and 2. Oh,
it got hard. It got real hard. It wasn't really ever easy.
Like we were saying, I'm just not comfortable picking any games. I have no confidence in myself. And if I went 3-0, I wouldn't have any confidence.
We're 40%
later in the
boys,
season
40%.
with more data and seeing more, you'd feel more comfortable. Not at all. Worse. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's terrible. As we talked about before, I don't think we talked during the show. I'm wearing the shirt of the World Series champion Houston Astros. So last Saturday was kind of up and down night for me. Obviously, Clemson got their clock clean bad. Astros are winning on the other channel. Zach's texting me about the Alabama game when he woke up out of his stupor.
Slumber.
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 Oh, yeah, slumber, stupor, same thing. And crazy weekend. The Astros won the World Series, but the biggest thing out of all that, as I was telling you guys, I got an actual hug, not a fake father-son hug, an actual, I could feel his skinny little chest bones. So it was a good night. It ended up being a good night. He was all excited and wound up, and thank goodness it was on a Saturday, because if it was on Sunday night and he had to go to school Monday, he'd have been up till 3 o'clock, Instagram it or whatever the kids do. Is that what you call it, Instagram? But anyway, Beef, I'm going to give you the day off from saying goodbye tonight since you're on the road.
He's got it.
You got it?
Ready.
He's ready to roll.
You're
The man, you're the man. Anyway, thanks, guys. We only have 2 more weeks of this before our execution date, and it kind of feels like it. And this has been a long season, but a lot of fun. Yeah. But somebody win some games this week. Somebody.
9-0.
Thanks to everyone in the Seldom Used Reserve College Football Discussion Facebook group. Uncle John McGee, as always. Sluggo Podcast, and each and every one of you who listens, likes, shares, and participates. We love the commenters. Thank you so much. On behalf of Marty, Seldom Used Reserve Coleman, Zach Locks Parker, I am Casey the Beef Cregan. Thanks so much for joining. Make sure to check out rubbingtherock.com. Lots of great stuff on there.
Yes, I got an article coming out tomorrow. We should stake at 4 teams in the playoffs. I don't care what anybody says. See you guys.
I think we're done here.